And welcome into the Wednesday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Wednesday morning, presented by Green Ventures Landscaping, outdoor patios, landscaping design, lawn maintenance, and more. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Joe Rexrode, how are you? What's going on?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. I just couldn't quite make it up. I couldn't stay up, man. And it was a great game 1-2, and I faded. I faded early third, man. I feel bad about it because obviously, those freaking Golden Knights, I tell you what.
I fell asleep almost immediately after they scored the fifth goal.
Okay, well, you did better than me.
I mean,
good job.
I'm talking within 15 seconds after they scored that goal, I was out.
That goal was like a sleeping pill.
It was like, I was like, crap. Okay, asleep.
I will say, like, I am embracing the Toronto, like you mentioned the other day, like the Toronto meltdown.
Oh yeah,
the whole Mitch was the problem, and to the screenshot of him hoisting that thing all over Toronto. I mean that is kind of a special thought.
I'm already looking forward to like when he gets his day with the cup, Marner, he just takes it to Toronto, just starts walking down the middle of the road with it. Like, hey guys, how we doing?
Dude, that would be the most amazing thing ever. Holy crap.
Just walking down the highway. Hey, how's it going down there?
He needs a lot of security, but he should absolutely do that.
About probably 700 to 800 security guards if he's going to do that. See how that goes. Ian, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Yeah, I made it up till, I think it was the last icing where they I don't know, there's like 5 seconds left or something in the game. And then my alarm started going off for bedtime, and it messed up the stream on my phone, and I just kept it off. So I missed like the last 5 seconds.
You didn't miss much.
So I figured at that point it was probably in the bag.
You have a bedtime alarm.
That's a good. I probably need one of those.
Yeah, it's actually a 10 o'clock alarm for our youngsters' medicine, but it turns into a
and also
bedtime alarm. All right, 10 o'clock, give her medicine, and it's bedtime.
Time to hit the snooze.
Yeah, it's actually 9:50. My alarm goes off, and then the snooze goes off at 59, and then that's about that. But yeah,
10 o'clock. You don't need as much sleep as I do. Good for you.
Well. Yeah, we'll see how it goes here in about 10 years. But
what are you trying to say, dude?
I'm just saying like
that I'm old as shite.
No, I'm just saying in 10 years, maybe I won't be doing so hot.
We'll see.
We'll see
how it goes.
But yep.
We got a whole lot going on the program here today. Paul Kuharsky will be with us in the second half of the program. We will get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. But we start with the Nashville Predators. They have found their man. They have hired Chris MacFarland as their president of hockey operations and their general manager, formerly of the Colorado Avalanche, the GM of the Avs. Chris MacFarland is their guy. Joe, as this conversation and process has gone on, I think it has become pretty clear that MacFarland has been their guy for a while, that they've kind of been waiting to talk to. They did it. They got permission to talk to him. I was listening to Elliot Friedman in the latest 32 Thoughts podcast on the way in. Apparently, Chris MacFarland was in town Monday night, had dinner with Bill Haslam. Bill Haslam basically looked at him and said, hey, man, what's it going to take? Chris MacFarland told him what it was going to take, and here we are. They've signed him. He's their man, and he's been introduced later today at a press conference at Bridgestone Arena. But, Joe, your initial reaction to the hiring of Chris MacFarland as president of hockey ops and general manager by the Nashville Predators.
Yeah, it seems like a good hire. I feel like the fan base, and I base some of my belief on what the fan base feels on Redemption, who sends like cats dancing and things like that. Seems like people are excited about it. That doesn't always necessarily mean it. It's a good thing. We've talked about some of the other candidates that wouldn't have excited people. He's part of a winning organization. He's been a part of it for a long time. He's been in the game for a long time. It makes sense. This is either you're going to get a good number 2 somewhere and a winning organization, or you're probably going to get a retread GM, and yeah, both can work, both cannot work. Obviously, I think it's the unknown is one of those things that in sports gets people a little bit more excited, and someone getting the opportunity to to take over an organization. You obviously would love to have some of the success Colorado's had. I've tried to look back and kind of figure out, okay, what does he really get credit for and not, and all that stuff. And obviously Joe Sakic has really been in charge of that place, I think, for about 12 years now. But MacFarland's been in part of a lot of really good things there.
And there was a pivot in 2022. So the Avs win the Cup in 2022. We saw that up close and personal with the first round matchup with the Predators. And that summer, Sakic, relinquished is probably not the right word, but he was president of hockey ops, and like the day-to-day general manager stuff was Chris MacFarland, right? Like he was doing, and I think I've heard Sean Henry talk about this and other people, like the conversation, like if you're making a call, if you're Barry Trotz and you're looking to speak to somebody on Colorado, you're probably talking to Chris MacFarland. And now where that conversation goes from there, I'm sure Chris MacFarland, runs it up the ladder to Joe Sakic, but it wasn't like Joe Sakic was doing like the day-to-day minutia of running a hockey team when it comes to the general manager part of this. If they were going to make some big decision, Joe Sakic was going to be involved in it, and Joe Sakic's voice was going to be what was the loudest voice in there. Ultimately, it was going to be his decision, right? So there's that. But Chris MacFarland does have what I would say is more experience actively doing general manager work than like your typical AGM in this process would be, right? So it's different from that regard. So then the question would be, okay, well, if he's like doing day-to-day general manager stuff with the Colorado Avalanche, why would he be interested in the Nashville Predators? Well, to me, it's pretty simple. They gave him the title of president of hockey operations and general manager, which means, there's no question. The buck stops with him. It's basically the same thing that David Poile was here forever with the Nashville Predators. And I have to imagine that the money is a significant bump. Like those two things, you've got the title. I bet the money's come along with it. And I said it earlier, like Elliot Friedman said on his podcast this morning, that he hadn't nailed this down, but the rumor out there with MacFarland is that it's a 6-year deal for Chris MacFarland, which is a healthy deal.
That's a term.
So, all of those things, and people have asked the question, why would you leave Colorado? Why would you leave Colorado? Well, those three things right there, the term, the title, the money, that'll get it done. And it looks like it got it done.
Yeah, and maybe he can shed some light on this. We get into this stuff with like, the Titans and NFL teams too, when you have different structures with front offices. Like I've looked at them like ultimately when there's a big move or something. I've just assumed it's still Sakic that's right. Like
his fingerprints are all over it. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a pretty big difference between that. Well, again, like you said, Sakic, lets him do a lot of the stuff, but when it comes down to it, this is my show. I'm running this. This is my imprint. I don't have to go upstairs to anybody else when I'm that's a huge
answers
difference.
To Bill Haslam now, and that's it.
Yeah. So he's still going to me from a 2 to a 1, even if it's like been a little bit more like a 1.5 or whatever. Do we really have like the breakdown of like whenever there's a trade? If there's a disagreement over a draft pick, I would assume that Joe, right, had the call. So, you look back at their history. Right after he was in Columbus forever. You look at their history because obviously he got there. They had already, of course. I guess Sakic gets credit for McKinnon, but it's like he was the first pick. Like everybody's good. Sakic didn't even take. They had already taken Landeskog, I believe, when Sakic, 2 overall when Sakic got there. But for example, the first draft with MacFarland there, they took Rantanen 10th, and there are a lot of other guys they could have taken. That's a pretty freaking good pick. Now, that's like a month after he got there. Does he get credit for that? Like, did they ask him, hey, new guy, you want to weigh in on this?
Well, let me tell you this. If the Predators take somebody at number 10 right now, which is where they're picking, it ends up being Mikko Rantanen. If I'm Chris MacFarland, I'd take credit for it. Like, yep, all right, I'm in there.
Yeah, that'd be all right. So obviously from there, they had they had the big deal. Well, they had the deal with the Preds.
They did.
On his time
Ended up
too.
with Sam Girard, traded away Matt Duchene to Ottawa. I mean, they've done it. They've done a lot of things. And then, obviously later in that process, you draft Cale Makar, right? I mean, that's a heck of a pick. And I understand it's a high pick, and it wasn't overly complicated, but there are other guys. I think they picked him at 4.
They picked him at 4. I mean, Pettersson goes right after that.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's going to, Vegas, who's about to win another cup, took Cody Glass 6, by the way, in the same draft for anybody who forgot that part. But yeah, like that you watch McCart, it's like, was he the number 1 overall? He had to have been, right? No, he was not. He was 4th, and that's a huge part of, them advancing this thing.
No doubt about it. So they've got their man. Chris MacFarland is the president of hockey operations. He is the general manager of the Nashville Predators. We will take your reaction to that. And now the question turns to, how equipped is he to build a winner out of this group, out of this team? We will get into all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Preds have hired Chris MacFarland as their president of hockey ops and their general manager. Taking your reaction to that throughout the show, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, the question now shifts to a lot of different things. First off, and I guess the most immediate question is, what does this mean for Andrew Brunette as head coach? We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. What does this hire tell us about Bill Haslam and his commitment to winning? We'll get into that coming up here in just a few minutes. So there's a lot of different things that you can kind of spin out of this. But, ultimately, how equipped is he to do the job, right? Like, how equipped is Chris MacFarland to take this team and build it ultimately into a Stanley Cup winner? And what path makes the most sense for him as he looks at this to try to embark on? The Predators fans that I've spoken to throughout this process that have called into our show, I think pretty much universally have wanted one thing out of this, and that is get outside the family, get somebody in here that basically has no ties to the organization, and let's change up the way we operate. Well, they've done that. They brought somebody in that, Joe, as far as I can tell, doesn't have any ties to the organization, right? Without knowing his entire life history, I'm sure he's run across some people before that have, worked and operated with the Predators, but there's no immediate tie to the Nashville Predators here. So you've got that. You've got a guy that has been in a winning organization, that has been one of the key decision makers, not the key decision maker, but one of the key decision makers on a winning organization, and he's got no ties to you. So I think the main checklist that Predators fans were looking to check off here, I think the Predators have gone out and done that. And now I'm very interested to see, as somebody who has no ties to this organization coming in, who has no emotion tied up to UC Saros or Philip Forsberg or Roman Josi or Stamkos or any of these guys, how does he choose to operate in the short term here when he's trying to build out his plan? It's very fascinating to me.
Yeah, and I think one of the exciting things, and so far the reaction here is pretty much excitement. Texter says, "This is my Stanley Cup." Calm down, but just the long-standing complaint, in terms of finding forwards, and being able to draft, develop, forwards that are star players. Obviously, he's been a part of an organization that has done that at a high level. Again, the obvious number one pick, when that's some of that's just, you get a chance to pick that player, you pick that player, and good for you. And he would have gone to any other organization, he would have been a star, right? And the same with, Landeskog, I think too, but Ranton's an example of a choice that turned out really well for them. And obviously they've had really good teams. And so I think that aspect of it in particular is something that is interesting, and we're just going to have to see over time how that happens. But I'm interested to hear that too, in terms of, maybe even his perception. No one's going to dunk on anybody else. It's going to be nothing but respect and all that stuff publicly for like how they've done things here. But, I'm interested to hear, I guess, what he has seen on the other side of this organization and his thoughts on that, because some organizations are just stronger at some things than other things. And we know the weak spot of this organization over time. And now, of course, you're a Preds fan, you hope this guy changes that dramatically.
Yep, for sure. And, I've heard a couple people say this, like, is Nathan MacKinnon coming with him? No, he's not. So MacKinnon, not going to be there. Obviously, if you point to Colorado and the success that they've had, that is where it starts. He is one of the, at worst, third best players in the game, right? Look, they've got in my opinion, two of the top 5 players in the league are on their team, in Makar and MacKinnon. So when you have that helps a lot. The Predators don't have that right now, obviously. But, I think long term, everybody understands the plan. Long term, over the next, 4 to 5 years, you're hoping to build yourself up to where you're competing for a championship at that point. I think everybody understands that. Like, if you're trying to look too much far beyond that, then that's a dangerous game to play at that point. But like short term, immediately, what's his plan? I mean, the cap is going way up this summer. Not that the Predators are cap strapped by any imagination, but what that should mean is league wide, if the cap's going up this much, you should see some activity. Like there should be some trades that get made. There should be some movement this offseason, particularly, Joe, when you combine it with the fact that free agency kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like when you have bad free agency and the cap going up, that should lend itself to some trades this offseason. So how much tinkering with the immediate roster does he want to do? When he looks at this veteran core, I think Marchessault is probably the first name that's going to come up with everybody, and I'm interested to see that. My guess is they're going to try to move it this offseason. We'll see how it goes. But I'm even talking beyond that. Like, this is totally outside of the organization. You got a lot of people with trade protection, so there's some obstacles that are in the way. But how much does he want to tinker with the immediate kind of short-term part of this roster when you're talking about some of these veterans?
Yeah.
Is he gonna treat Ryan O'Reilly the same way Barry Trotz did, which is basically like, well,
whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah. Yeah. And but look, the reality is too, you're talking about a lifelong, he played like college hockey, but you're talking about a lifelong personnel guy in this league, as opposed to Trotz, who's a lifelong coach who looked at it, I think, at least partially through coach's eyes. And I think that's how something like that is more likely, right? When you defer to someone like that. And when you value someone like that, which I think everybody can understand why you don't have to be a coach to value like what Ryan O'Reilly brings, and all that stuff and how that can help younger players and everything. But maybe a straight up personnel guy is a little bit more, cold and just hard dollars and cents on stuff like that.
Yeah. Let's head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Bob in Antioch to the program. Bob, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. What's your speculation about what's going to happen to the Predators front office, like the assistant GMs and other front office personnel? I'm very curious to see your take on that.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. My guess is this. I mean, it's June the 3rd. You got the draft coming up later this month.
Nothing right now.
I don't think anything's happening right now. Like, I think what you're going to probably see is you're going to keep your staff basically in place. I mean, Chris MacFarland is the guy in charge now, so he'll be technically making the decisions. But, I mean, these guys have done a lot of work on the draft. You've got, I think Jeff Kelty and Barry Trotz, I heard Sean Henry say, are at the NHL Combine right now. So, like, those guys are working on stuff, interviewing your potential picks right now. So my guess is nothing is going to happen in the short term. Over the next couple of months, after you get, in the first wave of free agency and into the offseason, then I think that's where you could start to see some churn. And I'm interested, is every one of the assistant GMs, like GMs, when you're talking, Jeff Kelty, Scott Nickel, and why am I blanking on the other assistant GM? Poyle. Yeah. Brian Poyle. Good grief. When you're talking to every one of those guys, are they all gone? Are two of them gone? Like how much? I would be surprised if all of them stayed.
Yeah.
I guess that would be probably the most surprising outcome to me, is if all of them remained here. I would have to think there's somebody out there, at least one somebody, that Chris MacFarland is going to want to either bring with him or that he knows that he wants with him in this organization.
Yeah. I mean, it's like sometimes when a coordinator leaves a coach and it's like, I'm taking the wide receivers coach, Yeah. I mean, like you expect that there's going to be somebody that he wants to bring with him who would get a bump, who gets an elevation. And yeah, I'd be surprised if it's all anything with these guys. If it's all gone or all stay, you're probably right. Probably like one at least, going somewhere else, But yeah, they're going to go through the draft, and then you're going to potentially see a trickle of changes. I mean, I don't know, like how, we've seen a lot of front office changes with the professional football team in this city, and really like a lot of carryover in terms of it's different. It's different sports, everything, but a lot of carryover in terms of scouts and stuff like that. Some changes. It'll be very interesting to see how much he wants to change things up.
Let's head back to our phone line. Welcome in Adam in Portland to the program. Adam, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, Robby, you know what's up, man? Like, I heard you talk about trade protection on some of these guys. Like, I was watching that game last night, and I'm thinking Forsberg's awesome. Carolina has 5 Forsbergs. Like, they have 5 people who could move the puck like him, actually better than him, and they're faster than him, and they're younger than him. So it's like, no, we shouldn't protect any of these dudes. Like, appreciate you. Like, you can still be like I don't want Eddie George being the running back of the Titans right now. Doesn't mean he wasn't awesome at one point, but like get some younger players in here, get some better players in here, and I feel like get the guys while they're still pretty good and trade them and get some assets if you can find a way to do it. If he's a good GM, like make your mark, like J-Rob did with DeMarco Murray right off the bat. Come in and make a move that makes everybody go, oh man, that's what I'm looking for from this.
Yeah, thanks for calling. I appreciate it. I mean, I think that opportunity could be there. Now, I'm talking trade protection from the standpoint of it's not the Predators doing the protecting, it is the contract for the players. So, I mean, the bottom line is if deep down Philip Forsberg doesn't want to go anywhere, then he's not going anywhere.
Also, like you do need some good players, and he's the best.
Right. And
he's only 31, Adam. He's not Eddie George.
Right. When I'm talking,
I get what you're saying.
Yossi, Stamkos, like all these guys that have trade protection. I mean, deep down, it's up to them. If they don't want to go anywhere, they don't have to go anywhere. It's in their contract.
Yeah.
But there are ways around that in the NHL. I mean, they don't agree with the way you're about to go here. A lot of times you'll see that be moved. Like those conversations to me are really interesting. Like if you're Chris MacFarland and he comes in here and his assessment is you need to probably offload some of these veteran guys and create more room for some of your younger guys. That's probably a direction that a lot of these veteran players we're talking about don't really want to go. So, like, how does that change the math in terms of how they view their trade protection and the contract and all those things?
I'm interested to hear from Chris MacFarland if he's aware of the promise to Steven Stamkos that there will be no rebuild.
Well, I'm interested to hear that too. We'll see what that looks like. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Chris MacFarland, president of Hockey Ops and general manager. More of your reaction to that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game, taking your thoughts to Chris MacFarland, the new president of hockey ops and general manager for the Nashville Predators. Joe, I mentioned it earlier. That is the same title that David Poile had as president of hockey ops, general manager. And we knew at the time, I mean, David Poile, he was president of hockey ops, general manager. He had his assistant GMs, but basically, I mean, the entire organization was run by David Poile, and he had the year of ownership and all those things, right? So we know the history of David Poile with this team. This is now the third GM in team history, and the second one that has the president of hockey ops / general manager title. Trotz did not have that title. Does that mean anything? What do you think that means?
I want to ask you that question. I don't know.
Well, my read on it is this. Number one, I think it was going to take a title like that to get him out of Colorado. Okay, so you're already the GM in Colorado. I mean, if you're number one,
isn't that semantics though? Again, to me, it's like, just give me the numbers. You're 1 here. You were 2 there, right?
Yes, but he is also somebody with a long history in personnel, which Barry Trotz was not. Barry Trotz was a coach. And so you're talking about a coach transitioning to a general manager position. Like, so a lot of this is semantics. Like, we get into titles a lot in professional sports, and a lot of it just comes down to who's making the decision. What does that mean? All those things. But I do think president of hockey ops / general manager, it reinforces, if you're Chris MacFarland, that basically whatever you say goes. Like, that's what it is. And I think that was basically the case with Barry Trotz too. Like, it's not like if Barry Trotz, as long as ownership was okay with it, had some sort of idea that he couldn't operate the way that he wanted to. Right. I just think a lot of this stuff, when you get into titles in the NHL, is semantics. And, like, I think the experience that he has pushes him over the top when it comes to that too.
So did Poile, when in his day-to-day job, was his day-to-day job any different? Trotz, was his day-to-day job any different than David Poile? That's one question I have. And then is MacFarland's day-to-day job going to be any different than Trotz?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think so. Like, I don't think dramatically different. Like,
is there other stuff that with this title that now you have to?
Well, so a lot of teams separate the two, right?
Yeah.
A lot of teams, you'll have a president of hockey ops and you'll have a GM, and that's where he's coming from Colorado. And the way I would describe it is, like, the president of hockey ops in that particular situation, generally, not always, but generally, is the one that's really in charge, right? Like, they're the one that is making, like, the buck stops with them.
Yeah.
So, like, Joe Sakic, I mentioned it earlier. Joe Sakic in Colorado is the president of hockey ops. Chris MacFarland was the GM. Joe Sakic is probably not on, like, the day-to-day call with the AHL coach to figure out what's going on, right? And he's probably not on this, like, every scouting meeting or whatever it is. And he's not operating like, if you're trading, a 4th line grinder for some 6th-round draft pick, he's probably not the one handling that. But if you're making the decision, if you're Colorado this year, to go out and trade for Nazem Kadri again and bring him over from Calgary and bring him in, Sakic's probably heavily involved in that, right? Like, so I think a lot of it is just, like, how do you delegate the minutia, for lack of a better term? And it sounds like Chris MacFarland is going to be doing all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, because, I mean, everything you described makes sense, but also, again, you could just do that same thing and just have that person be the GM and then have the person doing the day-to-day be the assistant GM, right?
Yes.
I mean, you could just call it whatever you want. It seems like whenever you have the president of hockey ops and the GM, it's almost like, because maybe that second person is elevated to a point where at least, like, they get a better title and maybe there's more money. I mean, I assume that teams that have 2 like that probably pay more for those 2 people than teams that have a GM and assistant GM.
Yes, and from what my understanding is, in terms of GM salaries, Chris MacFarland's in Colorado was on the lower end, which makes sense when you've got Joe Sakic, right, as the president of hockey ops. My guess would be that now that he's president of hockey ops and general manager, and the rumor is, this has not been confirmed, but the rumor is he's got a 6-year deal. I bet the money's pretty good. I bet he's got pretty good money.
Bring some of that spending money to Nashville, Chris. We got some good restaurant recommendations for you, buddy.
Exactly. So I think it's clear that for a couple of different things. I think, number one, if Colorado was going to allow the Predators to talk to him, right? So if Colorado did not have to do this. They did not have to give permission to the Predators to allow them to talk. If they were going to do it, it had to be because they knew that this is a massive promotion from a standpoint of probably the finances involved and the responsibility that he's going to have here. So you've got that part of it. And I think if you're the Predators, if you are going to pry him away from Colorado, I mean, the offer had to be really good. I mean, there's no other way around it. I mean, my guess on this is the money that he's getting here, and I don't know exactly what it is, but my guess is it's probably pretty significant from Bill Haslam to pull this off.
Yeah. Like I guess I would hope that at Colorado, the guy has an opportunity to advance stuff like this and be the guy and get the big money that they would. Yeah, like would a team really like deny that? I mean,
look at the Vegas Golden Knights.
That's
what they're doing with Bruce Cassidy right now. Yes, they would deny it.
Yeah, I guess they're just a different.
Vegas would not do this. I guarantee it.
How many other teams?
I don't know the answer to that. Like, another team that would come to mind, maybe Tampa, maybe would say, I don't know, man. Like, yeah. I don't know, but Vegas for sure. I mean, Vegas, I remember Vegas wouldn't let their AHL coach speak to somebody because they wanted him to be their AHL head coach. Like, Vegas is just completely ruthless.
It pays to be a jerk. Yeah. It's at times. Yeah. Well, that's, yeah. I mean, to me, that's ridiculous. And yeah, I guess good on Colorado for doing what you should do in that situation. It's also interesting when you talk all this stuff through for MacFarland. So if he is now, obviously he is like number one, the buck stops with him. So is he delegating more of those things, or is it like you start out here and it's like you're kind of doing what you did there and what you know what I mean? Like how does he delegate? Does he need to have a number two who takes on a lot of that responsibility? Is it someone he brings here? Is it someone he elevates or keeps?
Yeah,
that's already here.
That part of it's interesting, and that's where I think that there's got to be, if you're him, my guess is there's somebody in mind that's coming with him. And I don't know if it doesn't necessarily have to be from Colorado. I mean, that would probably be the most logical place that it would come from, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But I mean, this in professional sports, Joe, I mean, how often do we see, whether it's a coach or an executive, they come in and they immediately want to start surrounding themselves with people that they trust and that have worked with before? I mean, I don't think that that's going to be any different with Chris MacFarland.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And that's, again, it's like how many, you could be a few people, I don't know. That's where now that at some point, like if you're Colorado, it's like, well, you're not going to gut the place. Like we have but yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's unprecedented that someone would bring multiple people and try to bring as much that you're familiar with and that you trust with you as possible.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. What does this tell us about Bill Haslam and Predators ownership, this move to go out and snatch Chris MacFarland away from a division rival to bring him in to be your GM? We'll get into all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Today, the Nashville Sounds taking on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. First pitch is at 6:05. Catch all the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, and Social Cantina. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Chris MacFarland, hired as the president of hockey ops and general manager of the Nashville Predators, the third general manager in team history, and he will have his press conference coming up later today at 11 a.m. So I believe it's going to be live streamed. So looking forward to that coming up a little bit later today. Joe, what does this tell us about Bill Haslam? So Bill Haslam has come in, obviously, he's still very early in his tenure as Nashville Predators owner. I mean, clearly the on-ice product has not been great since that's happened, and you're in a transition period here as a franchise. What does this move tell you about Haslam and a couple of things, like the willingness to spend money, where his head is in terms of like trying to get out of this and get back to a spot where it's competitive, all those things. What does this move signal to you about Bill Haslam going to get a division rivals general manager and plucking him and bringing him over?
Well, I'd like to answer it in a few years to find out if MacFarland's good, okay? Can I do that? No, I think it's a good sign. And I just think even Haslam and the way he's gone about things, again, I'm a big believer in this, in ownership being willing to take part in discussion and talk to fans, and that part alone has been great to see, from Bill Haslam. And now, like you said, this is clearly an investment. This is a big swing. We've been talking about teams letting other guys talk and everything. I just caught up on this Bruce Cassidy thing with Vegas, which it's pretty kind of wild, These teams want to hire him as their coach. Like, nope, sorry, contract says can't do it. Sorry, he'll sit there and be quiet, and we'll pay him to do nothing,
pretty much.
But it is, you do have to, like, for Colorado, or another team to allow this, it's probably gonna, it has to be appealing, it has to be a clear, move up. I mean, you mentioned the 6-year term thing that people have talked about. I mean, this is a significant investment, and it needed to be. I mean, I think it's unacceptable otherwise, but still, it's good to see that. It's good to see the willingness to go outside, as everybody, I think most of Preds fandom wanted that and should have wanted that.
Yep.
And they got it. It's all encouraging signs. And then he'll talk, today as well. Like, this is a good thing. If you're a professional sports team, your primary, your controlling owner needs to speak to fans and needs to talk, especially, say you get the most public money ever for a stadium. I would suggest that you talk to fans sometimes and take questions sometimes. I know that's not what you're asking me about, but my head always
take it
goes
wherever
there.
you want to take
Well,
it.
yeah. I'm just, it's
your show.
Just riffing here, man.
Yeah.
Just riffing, just saying, not anything in particular, but no, it's all, I think it's encouraging for Preds fans to have a face now and have an owner who I think it's pretty clear he wants to win. And so you have to invest. You have to be willing to shake things up and go outside and find someone. And obviously they took their time, and some of it was the timing of course, right? Things that were out of their control, but seems like this was a pretty exhaustive process.
To me, this kind of feels like a brand new era with the Nashville Predators. It really does. And maybe for the first time, if that makes any sense, because if you really think about it, you've always, for the large majority of your franchise, you've had David Poile. David Poile has been your operator of your franchise. And there have been different phases of that. I mean, when Craig Leopold was the owner in the early days, when you were an expansion franchise and you were just fighting to find some way to put some sort of competitive team out on the ice, you had, attendance issues that you were battling through. And they transitioned from that to the new ownership group, and they got into the cup final. They had some resources to spend money with. And, so those are not the same things in terms of, the cards you were dealing with if you were David Poile, but you've had David Poile. And then when it wasn't David Poile, he handed it off to Barry Trotz. And they're not the same person, but it did kind of feel like the same family, right? It felt like the same way of doing things, the same way of operating. And it's not all bad. Like, I know we're going to act like it is now. Like, if they've gone the other way and fans are going to be like, well, the old way sucks. Let's get rid of it. Like, they've been a good franchise.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to get to being an elite franchise where you're consistently competing for championships, I think some new ideas and some fresh thoughts are needed. And to me, this feels like a new day for the Nashville Predators, perhaps that they've never had before. Like, this is somebody totally outside the organization that's coming in and is going to operate the way they want to do things. And I've said this the whole time, and I would extend this out to the assistant general managers that we've talked about earlier. I would extend this out to the scouts, all of it. One of the things I talked about in this search was, and we'll get into Andrew Brunette here in a minute, but whoever they hired as GM, my plan, if I'm Bill Haslam, was going to be, what do you want to do? What do you think of Andrew Brunette? What do you think of the coaching staff? If you want to bring in somebody else, we'll do it. Let's bring in somebody else. If you want to wait and see, we'll wait and see. But whatever your decision is, that's what we're going to go with. I would apply that to the assistant GMs. I would apply that to the scouting department. Like, to me, Chris MacFarland needs to, and I think by the title here, does have full reign in terms of decision-making power within the Predators organization here. And it feels like this feels like a mark of delineation here between the old Nashville Predators and the new Nashville Predators. And I have no idea if it's going to work. I have no idea if Chris MacFarland's going to come in here and be some superstar GM. He could be fired in 3 years. I have no idea. But it does feel like, really, for the first time, Joe, that it's a new slate when it comes to decision-making power with the Nashville Predators.
Yeah. Now, I do think another, like a thing about it is, of course, Bill Haslam needs to, you go through this process, and of course you need to empower this person. You need to I'll be fully behind this person. You're in charge. Trust you. Go, build us a championship hockey team. It is like, I think one thing that in the middle era, like you said, you had the Leopold era, what the ownership group. One thing about that is it felt like, one, of course, we didn't have like much public voice, as we complained about various times. I'm very good at that. Whenever an owner of anything won't talk, complaining about it. But you also wonder, like, is there enough checks and balances on the GM because of that? And now, like, Bill Haslam is like,
it's clear,
he's the boss.
Yeah.
He owns it. So I think that's good too. And it probably means that the Preds moving forward look more like a traditional NHL franchise, and change coaches, change GMs, a somewhat regular basis. Now, of course, you hope this guy's great, and then there's another long era of the same person being in charge, But I think it's going to look more like the traditional franchise moving forward. And I think there are some good in that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's a traditional, more of a traditional setup from the standpoint of, like, the ownership is in charge. Exactly who Chris MacFarland is answering to. Like, it's not some committee in there. Like, it's Bill Haslam. Like, that's who he's answering to. And this tells me that Bill Haslam's serious. Like, I remember hearing on I think it was a 32 Thoughts podcast a few months ago, that, they were talking about the general manager search, and other people brought this up too. And one of the questions, I think The Athletic came out with an article about this that was tied in there. Like, people didn't know what the spending was going to look like when it came to, like, the Predators and Bill Haslam. It was like, are they going to spend? Are they not? Like, are they going to invest? Are they not? Do they have the means to do it? And my first thought was, well, they just spent $100 million on, like, basically 3 guys a couple of summers ago in free agency. Like, so there's the player part of it. But I do think, from an organization, if you're going to try to advance and move forward, you're going to have to spend big money on your executives, on the way you do things, on your facilities, like all those things. Like, to me, I know that the Predators have basically, they've taken control of Centennial Sportsplex now, but one of the things I've said for a while is, like, they need their own practice facility. Like, they need their own place where it's just, this is their practice facility. Go look at Florida. Like, Florida's got their practice facility down there in South Florida. It's unbelievable. And it's not the only reason why they're what they are, but it helps, right? Like it's the investment level from ownership is clear down there. They've tried to win. Well, this signals to me going out and getting a guy like this. This signals to me that Bill Haslam is serious. Like it's not, we're not just going through the motions, not just screwing around and hoping that you make the playoffs and make some deep run and at some point, but we're not really all the way committed. It tells me he's all the way committed. Whether or not it works out, I don't know, but it tells me that he's at least all the way committed to it, which is all you can ask for if you're a fan.
Yeah. Like Jason Goodsville says, don't forget the old way was the second fastest franchise with 1,000 wins. It wasn't deep playoff runs, but we didn't suffer through bad times either. And that's true. I mean,
there's a lot that goes into that, but yes.
Yeah.
There's 82 game seasons where there didn't used to be, and teams that are, and a lot of these teams are already established. There's a lot that goes into that, but yes, I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, look, the old way wasn't all bad for sure. I mean, there's some people today who want to get all mad at Barry Trotz all over again. It's like, well, I mean, I think that's already passed, right? But I think also what you just said there is like most of Preds fans that I know, it's like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
Like it's enough of like, I'll actually take, and I understand you go through it and then tell me you like it, if it's a real serious rebuild downturn or whatever, but I think everybody's more than ready for some changes and just getting out of the, let's hope we barely squeak into the playoff mindset.
They had to change course. They had to change course. They had to go outside of the organization, and people can act like that's not important. I think they've reached the point where that's important. Like you need people to come in with fresh ideas, a different way of doing things. And now they've done that. And I mean, even that when it comes to Bill Haslam, like, I don't know that was necessarily the easiest thing, right? I mean, people would have reacted very poorly to this had it gone this way. But I mean, how many of you out there thought when Barry Trotz first decided to step down, we heard from people the next day, I was like, oh God, they're going to hire Brian Poyle or they're going to hire Scott Nickel or Jeff Kelty, and that's going to be what they do. Because that's kind of the reputation that they've built. And I think they've reached the point where this was necessary, and good on Bill Haslam for going out there and doing it. And now it means, a lot of questions in the short term, including what the heck does this mean for the coach? What does this mean for Andrew Brunette? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, and Safar here with you on this Wednesday morning, presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. Property managers, if you manage it, they maintain it. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com will be along later in the program. We will get into all things Tennessee Titans, NFL with him. So looking forward to that. We have discussed throughout the first hour of the show the hiring of Chris MacFarland by the Nashville Predators as their president of hockey ops and general manager. Continuing to take your thoughts on that at 615-737-1025. So, Joe, what does this mean for Andrew Brunette? I think that is, of all the questions that are out there in terms of direction of the team, who's going to be on the roster by the time next training camp rolls around. I mean, all those questions are important. I'm very fascinated to see, what Chris MacFarland's thoughts are on all that, and ultimately what his actions say. The most immediate thing is going to be the coach, right? You got to make a decision if you're MacFarland coming in here as to, all right, is Andrew Brunette here for another year? He's got one more year left on his contract. Or is there somebody that you have identified that you want to bring in with you immediately? I don't know what the answer to that is. As I've said, I would leave that entirely up to Chris MacFarland if I'm Bill Haslam and the Nashville Predators. But, I mean, conventional wisdom says, and this is the way that it generally works in professional sports, certainly in this sport. I remember when Barry Trotz made the announcement, I believe on February the 2nd, that he was stepping down as GM, we all kind of looked at each other and said, well, it's probably not good news for Andrew Brunette. Andrew Brunette probably is not feeling great that the guy who hired him, and I think it is fair to say, Joe, has stood by him when other organizations and front office members would not have over the last couple of years. Probably not good for him that person is now stepping down and stepping out of this role. It doesn't necessarily mean that Chris MacFarland is automatically going to come in and fire him, but it's a tenuous spot for Andrew Brunette.
Yeah. It's this is, see, when Trotz came in, go back to John Hines. I look at that and it's like, you knew that there were just so many people. Obviously, Brunette is a guy who he coached and all this stuff. There's so many possibilities with someone like Barry Trotz and his experience in the league that you could see how. And I don't know. I don't remember that if we had some list of 5 people it could have been, but there were definitely some people. Carberry was a guy we talked about, right? Washington,
Yep.
There's no one obvious here with MacFarland, but it's not that there isn't someone, but basically a guy who's been in personnel at 2 organizations for the last quarter century, right?
Pretty much.
So I think that's probably good for Andrew Brunette. I mean, right now, my guess would be that, he gets the opportunity to stay. I mean, it's not going to be shocking if there's a change, but I feel like this hire and just the background tells me, it's probably, and I saw Alex Doherty was tweeting about this last night too. His speculation that it's probably good for in terms of Brunette getting another chance. Now, then you get into, at some point, there's going to be a hockey team on the ice, and regardless of whatever, the offseason is going to tell us something about the direction, and he may tell us too. Yeah. But still, at some point, you're going to line up as a hockey team, and then people are like, okay, let's try to win hockey games. Is he going to have a chance with next year's team to win hockey games? Is it just because if not, then it's almost like a lame duck situation. But I mean, if I'm him, I'd still rather have the opportunity than not.
For sure. I mean, look, the other thing is it's June the 3rd. I mean, it's, that is one part about taking it as deep as they've taken it, which is it's June the 3rd. The Stanley Cup final is going on. If you fire a coach right now, well, you've got to get a coach in place, a draft to operate, and free agency all within the next month. That's a lot. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, you could do it, but that's a lot to really kind of hone in on. Oh, by the way, you got to have conversations with people who are already on your team as to, what's going on. What are your thoughts? What does Chris MacFarland want to do with you? He may walk into Stamkos's house one day and be like, hey man, I got to get you out of here. Where do you want to go? I don't know. I have no idea. what this is going to look like. So there's a lot to do already in the calendar. I mean, it's June the 3rd. So, Toronto's looking for a coach right now. There's another team looking for a coach. LA's looking for a coach too. So, I mean, it's not like there aren't teams out there that are already looking for a coach. I just don't know how many great options are out there, particularly if Bruce Cassidy's not available. Like if Vegas isn't going to let Bruce Cassidy talk with anybody, so I mean, take him off the list. I was really interested to see, because I think if this scenario had played out, then it would have made an Andrew Brunette move a whole lot more likely. But like if Colorado made the decision to not bring Jared Bednar back, I mean, to me, that would have been a no-brainer for Chris MacFarland to be like, hey, bud, you want to come here? Because in my opinion, he's a great coach.
Yeah,
like I think he's really good. And I understand he's in Colorado and he's got a lot of talent to work with, but I really like Jared Bednar. But he's coming back. He's got one year left on his contract. I'm very interested to see what happens with him. Like, does Joe Sakic entertain some sort of contract extension with him this offseason? Are they in wait and see mode next year to see how it goes? And if they're competing for a championship, maybe you address it at that point. If not, he gets fired. Like a lot of all those things are up in the air. Like to me, if you're Andrew Brunette, I think you have to know deep down that right now, the best case scenario for you is you're back as head coach to begin next year, and you better get off to a good start. Because if you don't, you're talking at that point about what would be 4 consecutive years of starting very slowly. And you dug out of it your first year, you couldn't the next 2, and you're on a new general manager now. Like that combination of things is almost impossible to overcome in the NHL. So, like best case scenario, if you're Andrew Brunette, you're back to begin next year as head coach, and you better get off to a decent start, because if not, you're probably fired in like December.
Yeah. Doherty pointed out that, MacFarland in 2015 arrived there. Good old Patty Roy was the coach on the hot seat. They did keep him on next season. Now, Sack played with him, and
it's very different.
Yeah, very different situation. Yeah. Plus, MacFarland just had arrived, so I don't know that I'd put much on him there.
It's also one of the greatest players of all time. Like it's a
franchise
icon.
Maybe people maybe overestimate him a little bit, but yeah, he was a good player. A completely just miserable person, but whatever, it's fine. But yeah, so then they gave him the year. Yeah. It's like, so what's out there? Like, if you're gonna do something, Berube, there's one.
Oh, this would be, I think, a scenario that if a change was going to be made, like that's probably something that's already been discussed, right? Like Chris MacFarland, like one of the things I'd be asking if I was Bill Haslam at this dinner, I guess they had on Monday night, was, what do you think of? Not even really like, what do you think of Andrew Brunette? Because I don't know if Chris MacFarland has a huge opinion on Andrew Brunette. Like he's not worked with Andrew Brunette. He's not watched him all that closely. Like he's working with the Colorado Avalanche.
He's watched his teams play the Preds.
Right. So I think probably the more pertinent question is, like, is there a head coaching candidate right now that you just absolutely love that you want to bring with you? Like,
yeah.
And that's kind of independent of what he thinks of Brunette at that point.
Yeah. So to me, unless the answer is a resounding yes, and there's someone we're not thinking of, then I think Brunette probably gets the summer, the fall, and then probably is on the more traditional potential hot seat timeline after that.
Well, and like, you just got to be realistic about that if you're Brunette. Like you got to know that.
He knows the league. He knows the league a long time.
Exactly. So I think that's not going to be some big surprise to him. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. We'll take more of your thoughts on the hiring of Chris MacFarland as Preds GM. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Boxing fans, 102.5 The Game and Team Boxing League have your chance to win tickets to see the Nashville Smash take on the Atlanta Attack at the Municipal Auditorium coming up on Friday, June 12th. Text the keyword FIGHT. That's FIGHT to the game text line at 615-737-1025 to enter for your chance to win. The Atlanta Attack. Not as good as the Boston Butchers. But
no, I mean, obviously alliteration is really valued in this league.
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, it's fine. I get it. But Boston Butchers definitely takes the cake.
What was Miami?
I'd like to. I need to see like the whole list.
Miami Assassins. So that's. I mean, it's a good name. It's not alliteration.
I mean,
It's a
I'd
good
rather
name.
have Atlanta Assassins.
I agree.
Although Atlanta Attack, you get the AT thing, right?
That's true. That's true. We wish bad things on the Atlanta Attack.
Yeah, not death or anything.
No,
but, yeah.
just lose the fight.
yeah,
you know?
yeah. There you go.
Lose the fight.
Live to fight another.
Go
day.
Nashville Smash out there. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Kuharsky will be with us a little bit later in the program. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. Taking your thoughts on what the Chris MacFarland hire might mean for Andrew Brunette. A lot of people have brought up Bednar. He's got one more year left. I mean, look, I think you certainly keep an eye on that if you're Chris MacFarland and the Predators. I mean, it's also very possible that Colorado goes out next year and they win the Stanley Cup, and then he's got a contract extension, and you move on from there in Colorado.
That. Yeah,
so
yeah.
like, I don't think you can plan around it. Like
No.
I don't think I'll put it to you this way: I'm not making a decision on Andrew Brunette thinking about Jared Bednar. Like if you walk into a situation next year where it ends up that he's available and you're in an opportunity where you can strike on that, then great. Like
And you won't be alone.
Yeah,
by the
you
way.
won't be alone, and that'll be awesome. And at least you got a pre-existing relationship there with your person in charge of your hockey operations department to go do that with. But I don't know how likely it is, but like it's not out anywhere near out of the realm of possibility that they win the Stanley Cup next year and he's assigned to a contract extension.
Right.
So you can't just plan on that if you're the Predators.
But maybe it could be like a Trot situation where it's like, well, okay, well, how about I just go somewhere else?
Maybe. I mean, that is, I guess, the risky run if you're
not gonna commit, you
Yeah.
know. And of course, some people thought he might be. I mean, but yeah, I get the scenario. I get the idea of Preds fans thinking, "Ooh, Bednar in a year." I get it, but we'll see. Adam in Portland says, "What sense does that make? If you think you should fire him, then fire him. Or if there's any question, you definitely fire him."
Well, you have to have somebody to hire, right? Like, you don't just fire somebody to fire them. You got to have a plan to go bring in another coach.
Also, again, you're bringing in a guy who has not been around him, does not have evaluation opportunity right now, right? On him as a coach. I mean, you know what he's done and all that. You saw when your team played him, but it's not like, I mean, it's perfectly reasonable for Chris MacFarland to not have a strong opinion on this right now.
Well, I would almost guarantee you that he doesn't have a strong opinion on it unless there's somebody he wants to bring in. Like,
I
that's
think
the only way.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I think if he had a strong opinion on Andrew Brunette at this point, that would be kind of jumping the gun.
Yeah. There's nothing
unless, like you said, if there's someone that you covet as a coach, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Barry Trotz did that to John Hines eventually.
For sure. And that's the one thing. And the difference even with that is Barry Trotz was around the last few months of John Hines and was working with him. Right.
So he got to see it up close.
Exactly. So this particular situation has not happened with the Predators before. So, like, to me, there's nothing wrong with holding on to Andrew Brunette as coach and then seeing how it goes the first few months if you don't already have somebody lined up. My point has been, if Chris MacFarland, who is now we know is the hire, has somebody that he immediately wants to bring in as head coach, well, that's what you do if you're the Predators. You say, okay,
100%.
we'll bring him in as head coach.
But if you just fire because, well, I'm not sure about this guy, well, then you should fire him. Okay, so what's out there? Someone that you don't like that much? Oh, so how long till you fire him?
Right.
You want to proceed with some caution.
One texter says, I may be in the minority, but I think Brunette's a good coach that unfortunately has a group of players that are notorious for slow starts. I'd give him this year and then go from there. I mean, I don't know if he's got a group of players that are notorious for slow starts. I mean, the goaltender has been, but the goaltender actually started well last year and then kind of faded in the middle part of the year. And then by the end of the year, they were starting a different goalie and must-win games. So like it was not really the path that it went last year. I mean, slow start. Stamkos has not traditionally been a slow starter. He had about as slow of a start as you can get last year, and then he went on like a nuclear tear throughout the rest of the season and ended up, scoring 40 goals again. So, I don't know that I buy he's got a team of slow starters. I think he's got a team that's the core of which is older and is not all that good, right? Like that's what it is.
Yeah. Speaking of Stamkos, I know I made the joke about it earlier, but like if I'm MacFarland, I am interested in that, like this idea of that, like Stamkos said, well, we were assured, basically, I'm paraphrasing, right? I mean, we were basically assured that we're not doing this rebuild thing, right? So yeah, it's like
basically what he said.
Like, because someone earlier was like, is this the guy that hired because he said, yes, I can win with the old pawpaws? I mean, I hope not.
I think people there's a lot of semantics that people get caught up with in that stuff. Like, Chase asked me yesterday about a complete teardown. Like I think we're beyond that. Like this is not going to be like, if you think that this is going to be a complete teardown, I mean, that would suggest to me that the draft picks that you've already made aren't good. Like that's what a teardown is, because to me, opening up more spots for your young guys that are already within your organization is it's not a rebuild. Like you're opening up spots for guys that are already in your organization. A rebuild would be Chris MacFarland gets in here, looks at, whether it's Brady Martin or Tanner Molendijk or Matthew Wood and 2 years down the road says, I just don't think these guys are very good. We got to start this thing all over. Like we're beyond, like we've already moved past complete teardown part of this. Well, I guess it just depends on how you view that.
I guess it's how you define that. I mean, like you try to move as many veterans as possible, which again, it's not going to be easy to just snap your fingers and do that. And there are no movement clauses, but I mean and then you like those guys and you let them all play.
Right.
And you'd be bad.
Right. But like, people, when they start, when you're talking about rebuild, like when the Chicago Blackhawks went through a rebuild, their prospect pool was completely empty. And then they started trading off all those guys. Like the Predators aren't doing that. They may trade off some people, but like their prospect pool, you would hope at this point, based on the work that they've done, is good. Like that needs to be. If not, we got a bigger problem. Like if that's not the case, and these guys that are already in the organization, well, this is going to take longer than we thought with, Martin and Molendijk and all those guys. So right. I think you got to make that determination over the next couple of years here if you're MacFarland.
Yeah. You just, obviously you just want to have the freedom to do whatever you think is right.
Correct.
Including if it ticks off some of your veteran players. Okay, well, sorry. Like I'm in charge.
And frankly, like I think that's where going outside of the organization helps. Yeah. Like he doesn't have a pre-existing relationship with any of these guys. And I mean, frankly, he didn't sign any of these guys, right? So like, I'm not saying that you have to operate like you're the Vegas Golden Knights and just totally disregard everything. But I do think, somebody coming in and taking an objective look at the roster and not being tied down by, I gave such and such a deal, or, I really like such and such. Like that's a good thing, I think, in this particular situation.
Yeah.
And look, I have no idea.
Especially in this situation, because they've gone a bit too far.
Well, and
Barry went too far.
It may lead to some painful things. Like
sure.
I'm not taking anything off the table. Like I remember when, Pierre LeBrun put it out a couple of months ago at The Athletic. Like basically just said, hey, keep an eye on Roman Josi this summer. Like, I don't know. If I'm Josi, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, I don't have that long left. Like, I'm 35, almost 36 years old. I'm not going to be playing for that much longer. I want to win. And if
same with Stamkos.
Like if MacFarland gets in here and says, hey, well, it may be a couple years before we're in that spot. Like I would not, even though, Roman Josi has got total control over it and he's Mr. Nashville Predator and he's played over 1,000 games for the franchise, all those things. Like I won't put it out of the realm of possibility that he says, all right, like I got to go. Like I've got to get somewhere else here. I just think, I think when you do this and you bring somebody else in from your organization, you have to be open to things like that you would just were never open to before.
Right. I mean, the previous regime highly valued the idea of him being a Nashville Predators entire, which I totally get. But that's exactly what you're talking about. You don't have those emotional ties. You can make moves that actually might benefit your franchise moving forward.
And again, I mean, McFarland may get in here and look at Roman Yost and be like, well, yeah, I mean, I want him a part of this. I have no idea. I'm just saying I think you need to have as much flexibility as humanly possible when you're in a situation like this. And then you handle that however you want to handle it. If you're McFarland and the Nashville Predators. 615-737-1025. We'll take more of your thoughts on this. Kuharsky with us later in the program. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar, Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com with us on the program. PK, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. I'm pleased to be here.
Well, we're pleased to have you here.
Nice Yankees zip up there. That new?
No.
Okay.
Makes the
I've
rounds.
never seen that particular one.
Yeah, Robby has. Robby pays attention to me.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry.
I keep a running track of like the things that he wears coming in here.
That's
mean-
dangerous because you never know what might hit 3 Wednesdays in a row.
We were talking the Rays in first place in the AL East, run differential plus 10. Yankees are plus 93 in second. That's
Yeah.
quite a gap.
I mean, I saw like a really intensive breakdown of what the Rays are doing. And I mean, it's ridiculous. They're bringing small ball back. They're winning with soft contact.
Intentional soft contact?
Well,
Are
almost.
they bunting a lot?
They do bunt a lot.
Okay.
And they really
small
hit
ball.
the ball softly. their exit velo is like, it's not a thing for them. And they win with like slow rolling ground balls a lot.
hey,
that they
Seeing
beat out.
eye singles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really
Okay.
need you
I
guys.
don't know that you could do it intentionally, but
Yeah.
they seem to be doing it
Need to
intentionally.
hit you
Can of
guys.
corn.
Guys hit it off like the handle of the bat. Okay.
Yeah.
To
And they
make
beat
the
it
pitcher
out.
really run to go
and
get
then
it.
they steal, and then they hit like a squibber, and the other team makes 2 errors on it, and they score 2 runs.
Good
Interesting.
strategy long term.
That did in a big Tigers win over the Rays the other day. They took advantage of some Tigers errors to almost win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what they do.
Interesting.
Yankees
stuff.
very up.
Yankees, they sit and
very
wait
up
for the
and down.
3-run homer. Just
Very
wait
up
for the
and down.
3-run homer.
All right.
It's
So,
worked for them like organizationally for like 120 years.
so we need to get your thoughts on the 2 big moves in the NFL this week. A.J. Brown to the New England Patriots and Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns to the L.A. Rams. Let's start on the A.J. front because obviously a lot of familiarity here in Nashville. What do you think of, number one, A.J. Brown now on his 3rd team? What do you think that does for Vrabel and the Patriots getting him in the fold?
I mean, it's got like a clock on it, right? He'll go there and he'll be on good behavior. And if his knee cooperates, he'll play very well for them for a segment of time. How long can you stretch out that segment of time? I'd say 2 years going into a 3rd, you're probably assured of a very good player. I think it's weird to give up a 2028 first instead of a 2027 first. Like generally you
No
want
one wants to give those up.
yeah, but generally you want to get it over with as the giving team. Like rip off the Band-Aid, take the trade punishment, so to speak, and get along. So that seems a little.
But the quality
weird
of
to me.
this incredible quality of next year's draft is right. I mean, I think that's what everybody's thinking of, right? I mean, I think
Yeah, maybe. But those things often don't pan out the way you think.
I
when
agree,
you're,
but
when you're trying
people are
to
going
forecast.
gaga about it.
So, Vrabel's got the best chance of having the best relationship with him, given their previous relationship. But some of the reaction in Philadelphia was like, "Oh my God, thank God it's over." One of the players said that, right? So, I think it's worth it. Philadelphia does a better job, or as good a job as anybody in the league, at preparing themselves for such things. So they signed a couple receivers. They positioned themselves to draft Mekhi Lemon. They drafted Stowers. I don't think they'll have a problem replacing his receptions. Is Smith ready to be the number one? You could take your chances with that and feel good about it. And New England gets better than they had with Stephon Diggs and gives Drake May, a clear-cut number one guy. So, the return isn't magnificent. I think everybody thinks New England's coming back, but what they are in 2 years and where that pick is, you don't know. So you have to wait and see on the return. But I don't think anybody would have had any hesitation about New England making this move.
I retweeted this from Mike Selsky, Philly Inquirer reporter. Over A.J. Brown's 4 years here, the Eagles won one Super Bowl, made another, won 56-21, reached the playoff 4 times. He averaged 93 catches, 1,380 yards, 9 touchdowns a season, caught 3 touchdowns in 4 Super Bowls / NFC championship games. If you're eager for that era to end, you're weird. Now, the counter to that is the last year it started to get
Problematic.
Yeah.
But also look
Too
at their last trade for AJ Brown. They got more than their return on that. So if you look at the first trade and now how they're positioned to be without him, it's okay. But I agree with the guy. Like, things have to be awfully bad behind the scenes to want out of that.
Yeah, for sure. So what about Myles Garrett to L.A.? I mean, he gets out of the AFC, but I mean, L.A. seems absolutely freaking loaded.
Look,
right
I
now.
understand that Jared Verse is a very good player, but I just don't think the return is sufficient still. I mean, you could say Jared Verse is worth two firsts. I mean, but Myles Garrett is worth way more. And if I feel like Cleveland doesn't calculate that the Rams are going to be good. So the first rounder they get back is going to be, I think all of us think the Rams are winning the Super Bowl. So it's
20-0.
It's the 32nd.
20-0.
It's the 28th to the 32nd pick in the draft. And then the other picks are at the end of their rounds. So you're trading really.
I mean, maybe not by then, but yeah, it could be.
Conceivably,
year,
this is a early second and an early third and an early fourth, or whatever, however you look at it. I mean, the Rams are loaded. I just don't think they got enough, even with Verse, who's a very good player. It's not enough. And the Rams are playing some chess here. I didn't look at what the odds jump is, but I mean, they got to be a clear-cut Super Bowl favorite here, right? All pressure's on them, but they're loaded.
Yesterday on FanDuel, they were plus 550 to win the Super Bowl. And the next closest team was Buffalo at plus 1,000. That's a massive gap.
That is a massive gap. And that's a massive number at this stage of the year. If he, for a team that's not the dynastic Chiefs or anything like that, for a team that I'm going to have to work hard to come up with another NFC team. I guess Seattle's the one. But to be offbeat this year, I mean, the number of people that are going to pick the Rams to win the Super Bowl is outrageously high this year, and deservingly so. If Nakua's head is right,
there are some things that could derail it.
And Stafford doesn't play like a 1,000 years old guy.
At some point, it'll catch up with him, right?
And now, did you see Aaron Donald said,
yeah,
I'm thinking about it.
He's entertaining
He's
it. He's texting people like, if I can, but it's weird. He's like, if I can find the fire, it's like, what do you need to get some, like, you low T? Like, what do you got to do here, buddy?
That's kind of telling me that he's coming back.
My
if
goodness.
he comes back, man, oh man.
And again, what does that mean after 2 years?
At age 35?
I would take my chances.
Yeah, I know. I'd give it a shot. I'd give it a look.
Yeah.
I'd go ahead and let it ride. Yeah.
I mean, imagine if he comes back and I'd be stunned if he came back and is the same player. But what if he's close? Like if he's, within the same ballpark of the same player he
doesn't
was.
have to be all pro, but what if he's like an old school Pro Bowler?
Yeah.
Meant something.
Yeah. And you're lined up next to Myles Garrett. Good luck.
Yeah, with those other guys. I mean,
they're stacked.
Yeah,
they're very stacked. Paul Kuharsky with us for the remainder of the program. We'll take your thoughts and questions for PK at 615-737-1025. We got the Rob rant coming up next. PK with us throughout the show. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
I'm trying not to be too negative.
Because Rexrode's overextended and tired and lazy.
Weren't gyrating in front of the camera.
I can take some pictures.
I need video.
If it's at least
I'm like a child.
they love me because I give baby life-saving blood.
I'm just reading the news here.
5.
It is time for the Rob Rant, brought to you by Rapid Response Generators, power when it matters most, and served by the Wine Cellar in Hendersonville. Paul Kuharsky with us here on the program today. So my rant is this, and we're going to turn this a specific situation into a general topic here because it bothers me several times a year, and we're going to talk about it. So, Joe, we talked about Jared Bednar of Colorado, right? So he's won a Stanley Cup, won a cup as the head coach in 2022. They've been a team that's been trying to get back in there ever since then. They're the best team in the regular season this year. They just got to the conference final and basically lost their two best players to injury. Cale Makar couldn't play the first 2 games. He was a shell of himself and now is going to be out probably into the regular season next year. He's hurt so bad. McKinnon got hurt in the middle of the series against Vegas. They get swept. And now, like, all these Colorado fans want to fire Bednar. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, you guys are crazy. Like, you're insane if you want to fire this guy. And I think around here, locally, it's probably gone too far the other way too much. Like, it's like, well, we got to hold on to the coach. Like, we got to do everything we can do to hold on to the coach. Like, for the Titans, personally, and PK may disagree with this, and that's fine, I thought they held on to Jeff Fisher too long. I think it was too long that they held on to Jeff Fisher, and it was like, you probably should have moved on a few years earlier than you did. They didn't do it, but they finally ended up doing it. And since then, they moved on from so many people. Like, it's just been amazing the way that they've moved on here. I'm searching for middle ground here. Can we find some middle ground? Like, I understand on social media in particular, you're going to run across people from a fan base. And I think, like Tennessee fans, when I think of this, you're going to run across people in a fan base that are so far to the extreme one way or the other that it's hard to remember sometimes that for the most part, that does not represent most people when it comes to how they view their team, how they view their coach, all these things. But I am just baffled by the amount of people in Colorado that want this dude fired. I'm like, you guys are idiots. He's a great coach. If he got fired, he'd be on the market for about 4 minutes, and then somebody else would pick him up, and he'd be at age 54, which is not very old, a coach coming in that does a great job somewhere else. Like, I'm stunned by how many people in Colorado want this dude fired, who won a championship a couple years ago, has won everywhere he's ever been, won a championship in the minors, just had the best regular season in the league this year, got put out in the Western Conference Final, not the first round, because his best 2 players were hurt, and now you think he can't coach. Like, it's amazing to me that we can't use our brains as sports fans a little bit better than this.
I wonder, I agree. I also feel like it's in the NHL in particular, there's like, I think that people are just conditioned to, like, the coach just gets blamed more in this league than any other thing, right?
Chairs league.
Yeah. So, maybe it's part, and of course you can always flip it around as a fan and be like, is he a great coach? And does he have Nathan McKinnon and Cam? I mean, I agree with you. I mean, like, if you figure it out to the extent that he did have the consistent success, then clearly you know what you're doing. And it's not like anybody can just go out there and say, I got these talented guys. Here we go. Wins incoming. But, the social media aspect of the whole thing is that's what dirties it all, right?
We want change for change's sake behind the bench or on the sideline to an unhealthy degree. Like, I think Mike Tomlin's a good example now. Like, I tend to agree it was time there, right? Which he had shown the ceiling for so long. It didn't match really the organizational standard for so long. And you say, hey, even if the next guy isn't going to match the consistent playoff run, we got to take a stab that the next guy can break through, do better than 7th seeds, and maybe make a run at this thing.
And then they hired Mike McCarthy.
Right. Yeah. That never mind the bad hire. Right. But with a guy like, now you're seeing it more in the NFL, NBA style, NHL style, where You do it in Buffalo and you do it in Baltimore, teams that are very good and have been very steady, but have lacked the breakthrough. And I just think you be careful what you wish for. Now, Buffalo fans did not wish for it. They did not wish for it. And they saw the problem more with upper management than with coaching.
Yep.
But in Baltimore, people got tired of Harbaugh and quote unquote underachievement as well. And it's going to be fascinating to see, and you see it a lot more, like you get the evidence pretty quick in the NHL and the NBA. It's a very interesting season in the NFL to see, and the judgments are going to come in pretty quickly. Hey, can Jesse Minter, can Joe Brady take these teams further, or are we going to be left longing for the days of getting into the playoffs on a regular basis?
And Harbaugh won it, like Bednar, to your example. I mean, Harbaugh has
the champion.
Yeah, he's won rings. So I guess there is
just impatient.
There's the change the voice thing. What's maybe Tomlin and
But
Harbaugh
they used
both
to
situations.
say that change the voice. But the thing is that the players change so much.
Yeah.
It's not like how many guys are sick of the voice? How many 10-year guys are on a team? It's not that many. So if the coach has that guy or those 3 guys, the rest of the team around him has changed in every 6 years. So it's
dramatically.
not that
Change the voice
stale.
for the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Fans
It's
want
that.
to hear somebody else.
That's more what it is.
Well, it's like in the Avs case too, it's like your best 2 players were hurt. Like, what do you think's going to happen? Like, if it'd be like, the Chiefs running out there with no Mahomes and no Kelsey, and you think you're going to win.
Or,
like,
or
good
Mahomes
luck with that.
seriously compromised like McKinnon was.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get rid of Andy Reid.
Yeah, like it just
New voice.
It makes no sense to me. And look, you can go too far the other way. Like, I think I'm just searching for middle ground. Like, you can make all the excuses in the world for a coach forever, and people do that too. But like it baffles me how many like Colorado fans, like when the Preds hired MacFarland yesterday, it was like, okay, well, that sucks to lose him, but can he take Bednar with him? It's like, good God, guys, like you won a cup not that long ago, and you were just the best team in the league this year.
A lot of teams
and then
would
you got
be
hurt.
Like, please let him. Yeah, please let us talk to him. Unlike the Golden Knights. Okay, PK. So is Jeff Fisher? Did people make excuses for him too long? Was he here too long? Did you make excuses for him too long? Et cetera, et cetera.
I don't know that made excuses for him. I think the Titans were an insulated organization that he did get a lot of credit, deservingly so, for dragging them through some awful times. And so he's probably scored very highly for the Super Bowl run, for 2000 when they were, arguably the best team in the league, but choked in that Baltimore playoff game. They had a resurgence after that and went to the championship game in Oakland. He won the power struggle with Floyd Reese. And, they liked the idea of being steady like the Steelers
screw that up?
were.
Did Bud screw that up? Like, did he make the wrong choice?
At the moment in the with feet on the ground there, I didn't feel. I thought he could have gone either way and it would have been okay. I didn't know that there was a wrong choice, but it was the typical thing. Like, it becomes a power struggle and you have to pick one. I'd like to know, and maybe your guy knows this, like where Floyd would have gone for the coach. Yep. Because they went a bad direction at general manager.
They did.
Right. So what was the direction they would have gone at coach? Give me the pairing there as opposed to Fisher, Reinfeldt, and then give me that choice.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll.
Maybe so.
Well, I don't know that Pete Carroll was necessarily available.
That time? What year are we talking?
It would have been
like 07.
That wasn't that around the time actually that Charles blew up the USC's program with his report on Reggie Bush. I mean, I think that was.
But see, this kind of team, this kind of franchise wouldn't have welcomed, and I don't think Bud would have welcomed a guy coming in off of a coaching scandal.
It's a college. Seriously?
I mean, Carroll got
back
hired.
Then it was a bigger deal than it would be now.
He got hired as head coach of the Seahawks in January of 2010.
Yeah.
It's still 3 years away.
Yeah. Okay. But they were tight,
Let's look at a list of coaches hired in 07.
We're taking this rant in all sorts
That's
of
fine.
different ways.
I have no problem with it.
I think it's an interesting study. Tomlin was hired that year.
Okay.
Wisenhunt was hired that year. Bobby Petrino and Lane Kiffin.
Well, you could have been a couple years early.
Speed
on
up the Wisenhunt. Yeah. Get a little longer runway for Wisenhunt, man.
I don't think they would have been. Tomlin was a real out of nowhere hire, right? Without even coordinator experience, or maybe a year of
And
coordinator
that's where, like,
experience.
the Steelers have always been smarter than everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's obviously that was brilliant. And now it's like Mike McCarthy.
You know who was hired in 2007 too? Bobby Petrino, the Atlanta Falcons.
Wade Phillips
that
also.
went real well. Yeah.
So, if you look at that pool,
Oh boy.
probably better to wait at least one more year.
Oh boy. That was not good. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Paul Kuharsky with us the rest of the show. We will get into all things Tennessee Titans with him coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through.
Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com with us for the next hour, talking all things Titans, taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Paul Kuharsky presented by Rapid Response Generators, power when it matters most. So, PK, let me see if I can qualify this the right way. Recognizing that it is, what is it, 2 practices that you guys have seen?
Yes.
2 practices in the month of May with no pads on that ultimately we will never remember talking about again. I think that's a good qualifier. Based on what you've seen, how excited should Titans fans be about Carnell Tate based on those 2 practices that you've seen to this point?
Well, it's 10 targets, I believe. And, he's done very well with them. Look, the first practice that we saw was his best practice of that first week, where he caught 6 passes and 3 of them were touchdowns, which was, a terrifically productive practice. And then the second practice, he made 2 catches that really illustrate the kind of guy that they think they're getting. The one-handed catch that virtually everybody has to have seen, where he's just zipping up the right sideline and has a step on Micah Robinson and sticks his hand out and stops the ball and continues going at a pretty good pace. And the second one, where he goes up in the air and snatches the ball away from a guy, again, Micah Robinson, who's covering him pretty well, comes down and I believe gets out of bounds there to stop the clock in a 2-minute drill, which is great. But it seems to me like everybody failed to mention that he dropped 2 balls in that practice.
Not you. You didn't fail to mention it.
Well, I mean, are we not obligated to provide the full picture or whatever?
No, we want to get excited.
I think we should
just tell us the good stuff.
Well, I think people should be excited and that he's been very good. But I don't know how you come out of that practice and don't mention the 2 drops. And there was a 3rd drop in drills where you're not, against air, where you're really not expected to drop anything. And that was filmable, and that was in my thing. So I'm not saying don't be excited about him, but I'm saying, he's dropped 20% of the balls thrown to him as well.
That's not a good rate
for a guy who,
supposedly doesn't drop the
extraordinary hands. So let's just, I know you have to be all in or all out, and the guy has to be a Hall of Famer or a bust after we've seen 2 practices, but, very encouraging signs, but also hardly without sin.
Did anybody write about it and not mention the drops?
I haven't read a bunch of what people read, but I've heard people talk about it, and I've seen tweets about it, and they didn't mention the drops.
Did you get after Stilly?
Well, Stilly didn't even know about the drops at practice. He was raving about him on the sideline. I said, "Did you not see the 3 drops?" And he said, "He dropped balls." I'm like, so the guy's got selective vision. He's either in or out on a guy, and then he looks for the good or looks for the bad, and he's incapable of seeing the whole thing. He doesn't even know how to watch practice.
Did you tell him this on your little program together?
I did, yes.
Okay, good.
There we go. I like that. Okay, I mean, that's why I tried to qualify it, because, I mean, look, if you're asking me, I don't even care about the training camp practices. We make so much about training camp practices in this league. No other league talks about practices except this one for some reason. And
well,
I get
Allen Iverson once talked about
He did talk about practice
famously.
We talk a lot about practice around here when it comes to the NFL. And it's just it's the name of the game. It's why the NFL is what it is.
But people like Kuharsky are at fault.
Well, that's true. That is part
I'm
of
at
it.
fault
Thanks
for
a
talking
lot.
about practice?
Yeah, you're part of the problem.
I try to talk in more in broad themes more than in highlights. But yeah, I do it too. It's how things are set up.
Well, we've tried to qualify it, understanding that it's at the end of the day, the practice in May is not going to mean anything. However, one thing we did talk about the other day was, how big of a deal would it be around here? Because it hasn't happened very often. If very quickly into the season, we looked at each other and we said, yeah, Titans knew what they were doing, taking Carnell Tate at number 4.
Oh, it'd be a huge deal. This team sucks at finding and evaluating wide receivers. I know Joe thinks it's ridiculous that I think it's in the fabric of the uniforms, but prove me wrong. they've picked one good.
It's a stupid concept.
It's a stupid concept.
Different
but through
people are picking the players, Paul.
I understand that.
Can we
but
use some logic?
Every one of them has sucked at it. So there's something going on that the organization, and this is true of other organizations.
They're all third cousins, and we just haven't found out.
I don't know.
What is it? What is it, Paul?
I don't know. But there's been one good wide receiver pick here in 27 years. One guy that has been a supremely gifted receiver in 27 years. So there's something to it.
They traded him,
and they traded him after 3 years.
The DNA traded
we can't have a good receiver. We must get rid of him. That's another part of this whole.
It wasn't John
they
Robinson's
don't know
fault.
what to do.
It was the DNA's fault. The DNA traded.
Well, John
him,
Robinson's a big part of the DNA. He comes in. He finally gets one. He's like, I've broken the streak. We figured it out. And then he says, we figured it out so well, I can deal this guy and just find another one. And then he drafts Traylon Burke.
Just give me a pig hunter and I'm happy.
So, I mean, that you don't think it's an organizational long-term problem?
I
don't understand.
It doesn't make any sense.
I understand that it doesn't make any sense. But
well, then don't say it.
But
it's
stupid.
True.
It's
true.
It's
true. Okay. So it doesn't make any sense. There's no logic to it. It's absolutely idiotic. But I'll just keep saying it.
Well, it's like it's the
Ladies
same
and
way the
gentlemen,
Browns can't find
Joe Rexrode is now going to tell us why for 27 years the Titans have only found one high-quality wide receiver. Go.
No, I don't. The thing is, the onus is on you to somehow illustrate for us why this would be anything other than different people made bad mistakes and missed on receivers. What are you trying to say? Is it like the Adams family has some sort of like blind spot for receivers?
I'm trying to say
that's the only thing that could make sense.
Certain organizations somehow have black
no
holes.
Logic, no science, no facts.
I'm not saying I have logic or science and facts. I'm saying inexplicably,
it's Paul's magical mystery tour.
Certain organizations at certain spots have inexplicable inabilities. Inexplicable inabilities. If you think that the Browns are just accidentally bad through multiple regimes at finding quarterbacks, I think there's something bigger to it.
They found Baker Mayfield. He's a really good quarterback. They screwed it up. Yeah. Do you know how hard it is?
Before that, Bernie Kosar. Okay. So do I know how hard it is? Yes. Has every other organization done better than them? Yes. Do I know how hard it is to find wide receivers? Yes. Has virtually every organization in the league done better than the Tennessee Titans at wide receiver over the last 27 years? Absolutely.
So here's the thing. I do believe there is DNA in terms of overall incompetence, like the Detroit Lions, the Cleveland Browns, etc. Right? Jets now, Cardinals out. I believe that. Top-down incompetence. But some one position thing, it's just a coincidence, man. It's just how things have worked out. What else could you possibly say about it? It doesn't make sense, Paul.
Well, I was trying to figure out the last time.
It's a hell of a coincidence.
The last time they had a first-round pick take it anywhere, a first-round pick in any part of the first round where you looked at within the first 5-6 games of their career and was like, yep, that dude's an absolute stud. I mean, Simmons, I guess, but he missed his rookie year. 8 games? 9 games?
About half the year.
About half the year. I mean, before that, it's probably Conklin, and he's an offensive lineman. So, I mean, he would be the answer. But, I mean, you're talking since they've moved to Nashville in terms of first-round picks that immediately they were like, yep. I mean, the greatest example is Javon Curse in 1999, where it took about 5 seconds. And you're like, yeah, well, that dude's an absolute stud out there. He would be the greatest example. I mean, Albert Hainsworth was good, but it hasn't happened very often. And a lot of quarterbacks you can toss in there too that have been in and out of here in the first round. It hadn't happened very often where you get through like the first 6 or 7 games of somebody's career and you're like, well, these guys have just knocked it out of the park with their first round pick.
So we could take it to that, Joe. They have a history of bad personnel evaluators in the GM chair.
I mean, really, if you want to go like, Floyd and back to him. I mean, first of all, they had some good picks late Warren Moon era, right? They had good receivers in.
Yeah, well,
Derek Mason was a really good
I'm
pick.
a Tennessee era guy.
Okay.
Derek Mason was picked in 1997.
Sure, but again, you're talking about the franchise. You're talking about the organization.
I'm
right?
talking about the Tennessee Titans era. It's not that difficult.
So it's when they got to Nashville, then all of a sudden they just
there's a
they
line
couldn't
of
pick
demarcation. They
receivers.
became the Tennessee
Yeah.
Titans.
Right, but again, how does that work into this DNA about receivers? It makes no sense.
Well, people are asking the same thing, like Preds related. They never found a center ever.
Right,
Like,
but
in general.
but the difference is that they had the same front office. So if that's the case, then I buy it. But we're talking different GMs. We're talking different people making choices. The Preds, yeah, I think that's a real thing for sure. That's David Poyle and how they had it set up, and they were screwing it up, right? This is, it's just all these different people, different setups. Yeah, you probably have some of the same scouts over a long period of time, so maybe you could blame some of the scouts. But I want science here, PK. I don't want your mumbo-jumbo mysticism.
Dennis says, it's obvious no one else reported the Tate drops because they were giving Carnell the courtesy of breaking the news himself. Insensitive PK striking again.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Nice.
A lot of your thoughts to get to. Keep them coming. 615-737-1025. Kuharsky with us the remainder of the program. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Multiple people pointed out oversight by me. Chris Johnson, you can add that list too. That's the first round picks that immediately you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
We talked about that the other day. Like, I remember watching the preseason game that he was in, and he busted off like some 70-yard run. You're like, good Lord, this guy's fast. Who's that?
There are guys that come in and recalibrate what you think about certain things. Like, you know what speed is, right? But when you haven't seen a guy that fast in a while and he comes and bursts through the line of scrimmage and finishes, it kind of resets. Henry reset size.
Yeah.
You know, now I don't want people who cover the team to be breathless about that stuff, but initial impressions as you recalibrate to seeing something like that are completely kind of appropriate. So when you see Simmons's power, you go, oh, okay, they've reset something here. When you see Johnson's speed, when you see Henry's size, those are things that, and they haven't done that enough. I wrote a column about this in the last couple of days. They keep talking about smart and tough, right? And I think guys can come in and get smarter and tougher, right? So I praise them on that. But they need more guys who the first adjectives are not smart and tough, right?
Yeah.
Because you can field smart, you can get smart and tough guys off the street. And they need more guys who you go, whoa, explosive,
fast. Yeah.
Whoa, fast, whoa, athletic, whoa, tremendous football player. And they still don't have enough guys like that, by my estimation, which is where they need to get. Now, they can't come out and say that, so they spend a lot of time talking about smart and tough.
That's what coaches do, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Vrabster, not to keep invoking his name, but he was like, oh, everybody's got talent. It's all about it's like,
and his teams won on smart and tough largely. You can
talent.
You can get there, but they need talent. And Jeffrey Simmons, you don't look at
Taylor
him
Lewan, that's talent.
Right. And you don't look at Jeffrey
A.J.
Simmons
Brown,
and
Derrick
go
Henry.
smart and tough. You go explosive.
Yeah.
Power.
Exactly. No,
he had that guy too.
Your point well taken there. And that's kind of the whole thing here with Tate. It's, in even beyond the practices here, like to me, it's very important that early in the year, and I think especially, Joe, at wide receiver, like I think there are some positions in the NFL that are harder than others to come into and immediately impact things. And I think that used to be the case at wide receiver. We see it all the time now. Like there's all sorts of wide receivers that come in the league and from day one are impactful players.
There's so much talent coming into the league.
And that's got to be evident with Tate quickly in my mind.
Yeah, and there's so much more schematic carryover. It used to be, it used to be a year. You high picks. Of course, you'd have your Randy Moss situations come right into Minnesota and light up the world, but there'd be a lot of guys who would need that year. Like not quite quarterback level, but kind of like that now. Not anymore, and especially, again, Ohio State. Like the hit rate is there's a legitimate PK, system, coaching, development, same people. So you can actually scout that helmet and look over time and say that works. Like they keep sending guys that work, unlike your weird, DNA crap.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, though, came into the league and had that
took some time.
Eased in year.
He also joined a receiving core. Like it was hard to
solid.
Break into immediate need for him to play. Whereas obviously Tate this year, to me, I understand like Ridley's going to get work, but I mean, Tate should be a starter and a heavily targeted guy right away. Right.
Day one.
So I saw the piece you put together over the weekend after the practice. Did not sound like a great day from Will Levis out there. I'm really interested to see what this quarterback battle looks like in the fall when it comes to how they're going to divvy up the reps there. Because I think everybody's like in goal. People keep talking about this and they keep saying, well, Levis can play well enough in the preseason where you can increase the trade value to like maybe somebody gives you a 5th or maybe somebody gives you a 6th. And it's like, well, maybe. But like he may play in the preseason and not be very good and nobody wants him. What do you do at that point?
Well, listen, if Will Levis plays great in the preseason, he's playing at best with 2s against 2s, right?
At best.
More likely with 3s against 3s. So I don't know how much that's raising his stock for a guy that didn't bring in any kind of attractive trade offer during the draft. you're really relying on somebody getting hurt somewhere else and creating a need. So you need him to look good. You need him ideally to play a little bit higher, at least in one game. And you need to be created somewhere. And I've thought all along, like, you can jump around in a trade for Will Levis, not get a fifth singularly, but turn a sixth into a fifth. So I'm just not convinced the value's there. He's coming off a shoulder injury, hasn't been seen much. And people know that the Titans are unlikely to hang on to a third quarterback. It'd be nice if we could see Trubisky out there, by the way. But so I just think people are overvaluing Will Levis, generally speaking. And he was very good the first day. And then this last day, he looked like old Will Levis. A little pressure in his face, tries to throw to a running back, a giant defensive lineman in Solomon Thomas, sticks up a hand, picks it off, rumbles into the end zone. Terrible play. Another one, he tries to throw deep into triple coverage, gets picked off by Keydrane Colligan. And
say that name again.
Yeah, I don't have it. Keydrane. I have that down, and my auto corrected to keychain, but I fixed it within the allowable hour. Somebody texted me, tweeted me, and they're like, "Dude, we have a guy named Keychain. That's so cool." And I was like, "No, I'll be corrected in a minute."
Collagen keychains.
It's good.
So Levis, maybe it's a little bit of YOLO, out there, like let it rip, man. What's it going to
hurt? What if your guy Hendon
Hooker?
Unlikely, but what if your guy Hendon Hooker looks good, and then they're cutting?
What's he going to play? Fives against fives?
Yeah. No, I think
Hendon, you could get on the field at halftime. We got the kids out there playing.
Trubisky could be so good, apparently, since he doesn't feel compelled to show up, that they don't need to play him.
So are you bothered by Trubisky not being there in the OTAs? Anybody else that's not there that bothers
I'm bothered by people not being there. I am. I know it's voluntary, yada, yada, yada. First year coach.
Quarterbacks hardly
systems.
ever miss that. Isn't he banged up?
Yeah. I don't know. I need to ask more specific questions about banged up to get the
what would Trubisky be banged up?
No answers on it. But
he didn't play, did he?
It's weird, though.
I think Simmons should be around, and he's hasn't been.
Quarterbacks don't miss OTAs,
not generally,
right? I mean, like obviously you have Aaron Rodgers
holdout
weird
types do.
Yeah, holdouts and stuff like that. But why would a Trubisky miss stuff like this? He
maybe
thinks,
those are the only
he
two
thinks
he's
that
missed.
Little of Levis and Hooker. It's like whatever. I'm QB2.
Maybe those are the only two that he's missed. The two that we happen to be at. But
could be.
Why don't you ask a question? Why don't you make yourself useful for what's at a press conference and ask the question?
I will. So I will say, it's sometimes difficult to ask these questions before practice.
That's true.
Like I didn't know that he wasn't at the second practice until after the second practice.
And you can't ask then.
And Robert Saleh spoke before the second.
So ask hypotheticals. Like in case X happens, then tell us why.
Could do better there. I will agree with you.
Do you have? I saw that went viral. The question, the turnovers or injuries question.
Yeah, that A to Z's big on that. They were debating that in the morning.
Did you see that, Robby?
Yeah.
Then Austin Stanley screwed up the whole premise because the premise to me.
My point was not for you to rip Austin Stanley, but
because the premise clearly to me is for your team. Would you want to turn it off for your team? Injuries. Or
the question for the listener who doesn't know is, would you rather go through a year with no injuries or no turnovers? I actually kind of like it.
Yeah, I do too. But then Austin Stanley turned it into that you're turning it off for everybody.
Yeah.
Not just for you, which makes no sense.
The whole league?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't need that.
I would rather turn off injuries, which is not the more popular.
I disagree unless I know I have, like if I'm the Rams, I choose that because I know what I have. Yeah. I got a monster team. You give me no injuries, yeah. But if I'm a crappy team, I'll take turnovers all day.
Absolutely.
And the other thing was then we're debating, and I presumed I knew all the parameters of this, but somebody that we were with when we were talking about it was giveaways or turnovers.
Okay, now we're overthinking.
A
turnover is a turnover.
Turnover.
So you can't take away the ball either?
Oh, no, that's not how I took it. You don't turn the ball over.
Yeah. Right. But he was saying turnovers, period. So he really
This has gotten as
made
dumb
it
as your
much-
wide receiver
much-
DNA
We're
thing.
Well,
making
it's
it
not
too
me
much.
doing it. It was him.
You're making it too much.
He needs to put out.
Sorry I brought it up. My God.
They need to put out a complete clarifying statement. It should be, I think all three of us agree, you don't get hurt and you don't give the ball away.
Correct.
That should be the premise of the question. And I think
That's what I thought it was.
Easton said that, but then Austin complicated.
Now you and Easton could have a little feud.
I'm on Easton's side on this
Oh,
one.
that's nice.
Joe's not listening over there. Look at him.
Joe can't take
Just
this
can't
on.
listen.
Sorry.
Can't listen. Got more with
I
PK
need more
coming up
coffee.
next. Robby and Rexrode 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode 102.5 The Game.
I wanted to check in with our NBA expert here. He
Oh,
told
good.
me that OKC was invincible. Why don't you stop making predictions since you're never right?
Well, I'm right sometimes.
Well, you nailed the Pistons and you nailed OKC. So as my NBA advisor, I'm looking for a replacement.
Again, you're the freaking D-bag who's like, I don't do predictions. I don't lower myself. And now all you want to talk about is my predictions about the NBA? Oh,
This is
okay.
why you shouldn't do them.
So
but
do you
have no
value
idea
them or
what-
not? Do you value predictions or not? You don't do them.
Here I am.
So you're too soft to make any predictions. Then you want to rip someone else's predictions.
Yeah, I'm going to rip
Okay.
yours.
Okay.
I'm
That
not.
makes
I'm
sense.
not ripping them so much as predictions. I thought that you knew what you were talking about in the NBA, and what you told me is Detroit was going to roll the East, and that OKC was like invincible.
OKC.
And so what happened is both of those teams are no longer playing basketball.
Yeah. Well, the Pistons,
Detroit very early lost to a team that then got
it was the second
wiped
round.
off the
Yeah.
face of the earth, and now OKC is watching the Spurs.
Yeah, the Pistons are a big disappointment, but OKC, I promise you. First of all, they're banged up. They're second best player.
Teams are never banged up in the playoffs.
No.
Most teams are in the
Okay.
playoffs and they're perfectly healthy.
Okay. Well, some teams didn't have serious injuries, like, for example, the New York Knicks. They're fine. They're healthy. They did earlier in the playoffs. And some had serious injury. Yes, thank you, Caleb. Has PK ever heard of injuries? I promise you OKC is not done winning championships. I also promise you that OKC and San Antonio are heading into an era of tremendous rivalry and great series, okay? So put it down on tape right now. There's a prediction. I'm not afraid to make them, unlike some people sitting in this room.
Yeah, ratings bonanza for the league too.
And they're predictions
OKC
about
and
things
San
I feel
Antonio.
very
Ratings
strongly
were
about.
great for Game 7.
Tell me about how badly the Knicks are going to lose so that I can feel great about them.
Well, I guess I only said against OKC that they won't win more than a game. But I mean, I think about this. I mean, I think they have a chance against the Spurs because the Spurs are young.
Waffling.
Huh?
Waffling.
Oh, Mr. Non-Prediction wants to talk about waffling?
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you my serious opinion. I think OKC would have absolutely destroyed the Knicks. Again, healthy OKC. The Spurs will win in
Would
6.
have. I love the would have predictions for all these teams that don't get there. The Pistons would have beaten the Knicks, except they didn't get there. OKC would have beaten the Knicks, except they're not there. Tell me about the team that is there.
Spurs in 6. Okay. Put that prediction down too. I'm not afraid to make them. Okay.
I'm not afraid to make them when I have conviction about something, but I don't force myself to make them when I don't have conviction about something.
Okay.
I'm going Knicks in 7.
Ooh.
This is total wishful thinking.
Me too.
Wow.
Knicks in
Knicks in 7.
Wishful. 'Cause you just don't want the Spurs to win.
That is
huh?
correct.
What do you hate about the Spurs?
That
I mean,
you
I'm
liked them.
I'm a deep-seated,
Oh, going back to the Miami Heat days.
I don't like the
Yeah.
Spurs.
Okay. All right.
Go New York, go New
I
York,
can
go,
respect that.
as we say up there.
Yeah, what you said when Willis
Starks
Reed
was
walked
one
out.
for-
Oh, Willis Reed's walking out of the tunnel. Oh my goodness.
Dude, in
What do we think of that
1973,
voice?
I was 4.
What do you think of that voice?
Susan
Ian? What was that
Waldman
one?
wasn't around either. Oh my goodness, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. A guy sitting in a box, Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens is in George Steinbrenner's box. I can't believe it.
That kind of sounds
That-
like Joe.
That's
he
pretty
threw-
good. That's pretty
I've
good.
seen no-hitters and grand slams and walk-offs, but a man sitting in a box. Oh my God.
That's beautiful.
I can see Ian working in there. We're gonna get this.
Oh, Ian's got some more stuff. You got too much good stuff, man. You're
Oh,
giving too
man.
much good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Hey, if you guys would stop talking so much randomness, I wouldn't have it.
They should have just retired her.
He's the one who brings
Blame
up the
yourselves.
NBA.
On the day that Sterling retired.
Well, I brought it up during the break
On the day that
Oh.
Sterling
while you were in
retired.
the
This is
restroom or
Ian's
coffee or
fault.
something.
On the day Sterling retired or on the day he died, would have been perfect to just retire Susan Waldman.
Well, not to be. Maybe we'll see something else
So-
happen in the owner's box at some point. On the
Okay,
text front,
let's pivot back to something Paul knows something about.
well, there.
I know I would love to see the Knicks win for the city that deserves it.
That's right. Hey, we'll see. I do kind of feel bad rooting for New York in this thing.
It's all right.
You know?
Jump on board.
Yeah, they deserve.
along,
They
come around.
deserve one.
They do.
Yeah,
They
they've
do.
won one since like 1970. Rob says PK is like my 7-year-old son. He won't even guess heads or tails on a coin flip because he could be wrong. Good point, Rob. Thank you, Rob. Good text, Rob.
Incapable of being
I
incorrect.
I report. I don't predict.
That's right. Your thoughts?
I report
on
on the Titans' DNA with the receivers, which makes no freaking sense.
Do you
All right,
have
sorry, go ahead.
any sense at this point in June where they could be leaning on the interior offensive line battle right now?
Yeah, I think Schlotman is the guy at center. Here's why. I'm unimpressed with what's working behind him, and it's not who you'd expect. and they rolled him out. The 9 guys have spoken, right? Now they say, well, if we didn't give him, you'd say we're hiding him. Well, Cody Barton was a captain last year, and Cody Barton's competing, right? We haven't heard from Cody Barton. I just think you don't put Austin Schlottmann out there unless he's in pretty good stand.
Okay, so availability is a clue.
And he's at the head of the line. I mean, Peter Skoronski told us that. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, we already know what to say. You don't need to keep qualifying that. We know.
And
you're not violating anything.
And I just think there's more clear competition at the other spot, Volson and Slater. So I don't really think there's going to be a competition in center. I don't think the young guys. I don't think the young guys have a chance to close the gap with 16 padded practices. With what I heard was that they liked Schlottmann as much as they liked Luke Fortner, who was kind of like their backup tier at center when everything went awry.
Yep.
Now Fortner played in Jacksonville. He was good. Then he was very bad. Then he went to the Saints, and he kind of had a recovery year. But I heard, well, Schlottmann in those 4 starts showed us he's as good or better, or can be as good or better than Fortner.
So, I mean, this is a terrible question to ask at this time of year because, what do you really see? But does he look competent?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you can't really tell, but sure.
Sure, fine.
I mean, he's not.
Why not?
He's not throwing shotgun snaps all over the field,
That's good.
And people aren't overwhelming him with their little bit of physicality they're allowed to have.
That's good
to get there.
All right, so if he's good, then we can call him Schlotty. Or no, Schlotty.
Schlotty. They call him Schlotty,
but
even though they should call him Schlotty.
Right. Yeah, that's yeah. So let's see if he can earn Schlotty.
How's that?
If he's good enough, he can earn Schlotty. Okay.
All right. Yeah, that doesn't add up right there. We got to fix the nickname a little bit.
Yeah, they need some hockey people to go in there and straighten out the nickname.
That's right.
Send somebody in.
From a pure physicality standpoint, operation, arm strength, all those things, Cam Ward looked like he's healthy.
He looks fine. He's the pinpoint accuracy isn't there. I wonder, I need to pay closer attention to the option element, which I've mentioned a couple times, and if that's factoring in. I think he looks good, not great. I don't know if you expect a jump to, significantly better in OTA sessions from an off season that was at least somewhat limited by the shoulder injury for the early part, where he could work on lower body stuff, which he talked about, but not on his arm for a while. But he's throwing fine in terms of not showing any ill effects
Velocity.
of the shoulder. Yeah, all of that.
Still similar number of misfires, though?
All of that's fine. There are misfires. But I don't think like, whoa, oh my goodness, he missed on that. But I'll be focusing more on what he's doing on these free practices.
Yeah.
Yes.
On Monday and
so
Tuesday.
So is Robert Saleh giving you guys extra time to look at the team? That's nice.
Yeah, came out of nowhere. So
next week was supposed to be just one day of everything.
And end of the week, Thursday, I think, with availability and everything. And so they've opened up Monday and Tuesday for us to watch, but not talk to anybody.
Okay. And watch still from a few miles away.
You get a Paul Kuharsky drone that you're
still
developing?
Watching from. Boy, if I had a drone, I think they'd have somebody shoot it down. I haven't seen the gun, but I would think they have one in case there were a drone.
Who's in charge of that? Would that have been like under Brinker?
Yeah,
like the drone.
That's what he was doing in practice. He was out there on the roof. Keep an eye out, man.
I think Dave Gardy. It would be under Gardy, but I also could see it being one of these lieutenants, like the chief of staff, or even the.
What up, Bryce?
I was going to say, that
versatile.
seems like a good opportunity for Wasserman.
Yeah. Well, I think if it's low flying enough, Bryce could shoot it down with a throw.
Pretty impressive.
He throws the ball back.
He's got a good arm.
He throws the ball back to the quarterbacks or to to an equipment guy who feeds the ball to the quarterbacks, and Bryce could gun it down that way.
Dave, Kuharsky's found a drone. We got to get it out of here.
Just aim the jugs machine up there.
You do need to
Come
come
on,
up with
Bryce.
some way to get a better view.
Yeah.
I would
You
like
know?
to see
plant
Bryce.
a camera in somebody who gets to stand over
I
there.
might start bringing my binoculars.
If only Arden Key were still here. His subscription to
Hostage
paulkuharsky.com.
tape.
Yeah.
I would like to see
Wear a mic
Bryce.
He'd wear a camera for him.
For him,
Yeah.
I
and
think
his
they
helmet.
should do this. This is my idea for Bryce. Even if it's stage, it would be stage, but they should stage somebody coming during the quarterback period, like with a cell phone, and call Bryce out of the thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need our head of football research or our football council. We have something important. Like, you're an important guy. We need you to not catch passes right now. We need you on this call.
Yeah, we got to get you up here.
We're
Right.
pulling you out.
Off
Hey,
the field.
Can equipment guy take this spot? We need our head of football
We got a
research
meeting.
to take this call on these important matters.
One
I
more
like that.
segment with PK coming
You
up
like that?
next.
I do.
Maybe I'll have somebody go out there like a Candygram kind of guy with that.
Robby
I couldn't get him
Rexrode,
in security.
1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by Green Ventures Landscaping for homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com.
Go, New York, go, New York, go.
Scale of 1 to 10, your excitement level for this series.
I mean, for a guy that really doesn't follow it, I'm kind of excited. Also,
He's all in.
We had trouble with our
Inspiring.
outdoor TV, first world problems.
Yep.
But TV now it's just dirt cheap. It's unbelievable. Like a good, a reasonably good big TV.
Yeah.
And so we got a new one, and our company was very gracious based on the problem that we had with the old one, the mount. And so it's up, and it's been beautiful out. So we can watch that. And the World Cup. I'm really excited to have World Cup games on out there. So I'm fired up to be out on the patio.
There we go.
How fired up are you for the World Cup? It seems like no one wants to go to the games. I know the tickets are like $9,000.
Listen, the whole thing is catastrophic in terms of logistics and all of that. But in terms of for the games, I also think they've kind of ruined it by expanding it. But you give me 4 international soccer games a day for 3 weeks, I'm pretty fired up. And the US looked really good for the first 30 minutes of a game against a good team the other day, which got me more fired up. Now, head coach of the US interviewing with the club team in Italy before the tournament tells me, hey, I got to lock down a job before team goes to hell.
Yeah.
Instead of, I'm going to really use our great performance as a boomerang. I don't like that.
Let's go ahead and get this interview out of the way.
Yeah.
That way,
Just in case.
Just in case we got stuff going on here.
They look very good.
That does not inspire confidence to me. I'll be honest with you. It's not good.
I've got, someone texted both of us, PK and I. I won't reveal anybody's identity, but talking about maybe the wrong traits were valued. Again, I'm on board
Talking to
with
wide receivers.
Yeah, wide receivers. I'm on board with like this GM's bad at this position. This GM's bad at this position. I'm not on board with an organization with different people in charge just has something that's like preordained that you're going to screw up receiver or whatever position.
Well, then you have 6 general managers who are all bad at wide receiver. I would say there's something about your organization's inability to hire a GM in 6 chances who can draft a good wide receiver.
That's just silly. I mean, it's stupid.
I know it's stupid of them that they can't hire a GM who can draft a wide receiver.
I mean, Robby, help me out here, man.
I mean, that last part I agree with. Like, if you can't identify somebody that can do a receiver, but like the overall point, I'm with you.
After 4 of them, I would say to the 5th, I need a specific plan from you.
Wide receiver.
That
you will only draft wide receivers.
That you're able to tell me how you're different than the last 4 guys in terms of scouting, finding, and developing a wide receiver that is going to change what this franchise has done.
Maybe that's Maybe that's how Borgonzi got the job.
Maybe. I like the wide receiver.
Carnell Tate is a guy who's going to change things and take us back to the era of A.J. Brown.
My God, I thought you were like doing Frankenstein there for a minute.
That's very clearly Teddy Kennedy.
That is the worst.
I got out of the pond.
Impersonation I've ever heard.
I got out of the pond. I cleaned myself up. I went to bed. And then I immediately, after a 10-hour nap, got up and looked for Mary Jo. Just like anyone would.
I want to know how many people even know what you're referencing there. No, the Titans. Breaking news: the Titans, the first organization who've hired a wide receiver GM. Just a wide receiver GM. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should be more like that.
I think they should have done that at some point.
They probably should have done it at some point.
They've had good running back GMs.
Fans out there, would you prefer Rustin, Webster, or a wide receiver GM? I think overwhelmingly that poll will go to a wide receiver GM. Overwhelmingly.
Who is the worst GM in Titans history?
It's got to be between Rustin and Rand, right?
Yeah,
Reinfeldt wasn't that great either.
Did you ever have any stories about Rustin's napping habits? Did you ever write about Rustin's napping?
I know that Rustin was awake. And I think it was before the phones were big enough for Candy Crush to have taken off.
That would add up. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Was that like BlackBerry era?
Maybe BlackBerry era. I don't.
I think iPhone was there.
I don't have the time.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I think they actually had stuff like
But
that.
now that I think about it, they've had some doozies at general manager.
They have.
Good God.
Unlike the
No wonder they
Preds.
sucked.
Yeah, the Preds, the Preds haven't really given us much fodder. The Titans have given us a lot. Do you have any thoughts on Chris MacFarland, by the way, PK, before the show ends?
I just am excited to see them go outside.
I think a lot of people are.
And try something new. Now, was his contract up, or is this a promotion?
Promotion.
It's a promotion
Yeah,
because he
he was
gets both
number
titles.
2 there. Number 2 there. He's number 1
He's
here.
number 2
Yeah.
there. All right. Yeah. I let's see it. Go. And don't do the Preds thing and be reluctant about changing the coach. You can evaluate the coach based on what the coach has done. And if he's not your guy, make a move in 2 weeks.
PK and Adam in Portland say fire Brunette right now.
You don't have to
and
fire
Adam.
him, but if you don't like him, don't do this thing where I say, well, I'll give him a couple months behind the bench and we'll see. Don't do that.
See how it goes.
Go New York, go New York, go. Don't block the box, and be sure to lock your locks. Both very appropriate in New York.
PK has given you a lot of stuff today, Ian. A lot of stuff.
That does it for us. Next man up coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.